The movie begins in the deep, dark silence of space. A massive spaceship, the Starship Avalon, is gliding slowly through the void. It's an interstellar transport ship, carrying 5,000 passengers and over 200 crew members, all fast asleep in hibernation pods. The destination? A faraway Earth-like colony planet named Homestead 2. The journey is 120 years long, and the ship has already traveled 30 years. Suddenly, a burst of glowing rocks, an asteroid field, comes into view. One massive chunk smashes into the side of the spaceship, triggering emergency responses and internal alarms. But the ship, built with top-tier futuristic tech, initiates automatic repairs. Sparks fly, systems flicker, and internal mechanisms realign. The ship stabilizes, but not without a side effect. Inside one of the many rows of sleeping pods, a red light blinks. A single pod malfunctions. The systems inside it go haywire. The protective bed splits open, wires retract, and slowly, a man gasps awake. His name is Jim Preston. Confused and groggy, Jim stumbles out of the pod, unaware of what just happened. He assumes they've arrived at their destination. A friendly AI greets him with pre-recorded instructions and assigns him a room. But when Jim heads to the main passenger assembly area, the place is deserted. Every seat is empty. No other passengers are awake. He wanders the ship, calling out, looking for someone, anyone. But he finds no one. Just cold, silent hallways. When he tries to access the control room for help, he discovers it's locked behind security access that only high-ranking officers possess. Curious and panicked, Jim finds a terminal and checks the ship's data logs. What he sees shatters him. He's woken up 90 years too early. They're still 90 years away from the destination planet. He's the only one awake. The weight of isolation hits him like a punch. He tries to fix his pod with tools, but fails. He even considers entering restricted areas, attempting to cut into the control room, but the doors are built like vaults. Frustrated, he breaks down. Days turn into weeks. Weeks into months. Jim's only companion becomes Arthur, a humanoid bartender robot with a charming smile but no soul. Jim vents to Arthur, expressing how trapped and hopeless he feels. Arthur offers robotic words of comfort. Take joy in what you have, not in what you lack. Jim tries. He explores the ship, plays games, eats everything from basic food to luxury meals, dresses in different clothes, watches movies, even floats in zero gravity. But the crushing loneliness never fades. After a year alone, depression and despair begin to creep in. One day, as he wanders through the sleeping chamber halls, he spots her, Aurora Lane. A beautiful woman sleeping peacefully in her pod. He reads her profile, watches her video interviews, listens to her laugh and stories. Aurora is a writer, and her charm captivates Jim. Temptation grows. The thought eats at him. Should he wake her up? He debates for days. He knows it's wrong. It would be stealing her life, dooming her to die in space just like him. But the loneliness is unbearable. Eventually, he gives in. Jim cleans up, trims his beard, puts on decent clothes, and walks to Aurora's pod with a toolkit. With trembling hands, he disables her chamber. The system fails. Alarms flicker. Aurora stirs, and slowly she wakes up. Before she sees Jim, he runs off, hiding his tools. Aurora wakes up in confusion, just as Jim did. He pretends to meet her for the first time. She's scared and confused. Where's everyone? Why is the ship so empty? Jim explains, both of their pods malfunctioned. They're stuck. There's no way back to sleep. Time passes. Aurora struggles with the truth of her situation. But Jim becomes her only source of support. They bond. She explores the ship, finds out she's a gold-class passenger with access to luxurious meals, and shares them with Jim. She even begins to find beauty in the silence of space. They grow closer, dance together, go on simulated dates, enjoy virtual walks and space-suit excursions. Eventually, romance blooms. Aurora falls for Jim. On her birthday, they celebrate with champagne and laughter. Jim is ready to propose. He gives Arthur a ring to present later. But then everything shatters. Arthur casually tells Aurora that Jim woke her up. Not the pod. Jim. Aurora is devastated. She feels betrayed. Her entire life, stolen from her by the one person she trusted. Rage overwhelms her. She screams, punches Jim, nearly kills him in his sleep, but pulls herself back. The trust is broken. Jim pleads. Explains. He was alone for a year. He was losing his mind. He just couldn't bear it anymore. But Aurora won't forgive him. The pain is too deep. Days go by in silence. Then things get worse. Malfunctions start escalating across the ship. Jim gets trapped in an elevator. Aurora is sprayed with food. Lights flicker. Systems fail. Something is seriously wrong. Then, an unexpected surprise. Another pod malfunctions. A crew member, Gus Mancuso, the ship's chief deck officer, wakes up. He's confused but quickly realizes the ship is falling apart. Gus accesses the control room with his ID and starts diagnosing the ship's failures. Together, Jim, Aurora, and Gus investigate the issues. They find broken robots, failing circuits, and dangerously damaged power systems. Gus begins to suffer from strange symptoms, coughing blood, fatigue. Medical scans reveal something terrifying. His hibernation pod had failed during sleep. His body has developed over 600 deadly conditions. He's dying. Gus, facing his fate, accepts death calmly. Before he passes, he gives his ID to Jim and Aurora and urges them to save the ship and live with love. He dies quietly. Now it's up to Jim and Aurora. With Gus now gone, Jim and Aurora are completely on their own again. But this time, they carry the weight of responsibility. They are the only two people awake aboard a failing spaceship, still decades away from its destination. The systems are glitching, the AI assistance is faulty, and failures are piling up. If they don't act fast, everyone on board, all 5,000 passengers and 200 crew, will die in their sleep. They begin scanning the entire ship. Warnings and red alerts flash across control panels. Environmental controls are unstable. Sections of the ship are becoming unsafe. In the AI diagnostics, they discover widespread malfunctions, electrical surges, mechanical failures, and deteriorating safety systems. Then one night, the ship's artificial gravity system shuts down due to a power surge. Without gravity, everything floats. Aurora, who was relaxing in the pool, suddenly finds herself trapped in a floating bubble of water. She can't swim out, can't breathe. Panic sets in as she nearly drowns. She flails, struggling to escape. Her vision begins to blur. Suddenly, power is restored, gravity kicks back in, and she's thrust to the surface gasping for air. At the same time, Jim is slammed back into his bed by the re-engaged gravity. They survive, but it's a chilling reminder. The ship is falling apart. With Gus's ID in hand, Jim now gains full access to the command systems. He and Aurora dive deep into diagnostics, examining the logs and piecing together what went wrong. Eventually, they trace the origin of the failures back to that asteroid collision 30 years ago. A small piece of debris punctured an outer reactor, damaging the ship's main fusion core. The fault spread slowly, undetected, over the decades until now. They rush to the reactor room, the heart of the spaceship's power. It's dangerously unstable. Sparks fly, pressure builds, heat increases rapidly. If they don't act immediately, the fusion reactor will overload, causing an explosion that could destroy the entire vessel. They suit up and head down to the power module sector. But there, another disaster strikes. As they enter a chamber, a violent decompression rips a hole in the wall. The vacuum of space begins to pull them out. They grab onto railings and emergency handles, barely holding on. Aurora manages to seal the emergency door before they're sucked out. They keep moving. The deeper they go, the more destruction they find. Robots have gone haywire. Mechanical arms swing wildly. Jim gets injured by a flying component. Aurora shuts down the rogue machinery manually. Sparks shower them as they press forward. Finally, they reach the reactor core. The pressure is off the charts. Heat is building rapidly. The emergency venting system is offline. The only way to release the heat and stabilize the reactor is to manually open a vent door on the exterior of the ship. Jim realizes this means going outside, into open space, while exposed to the full force of the reactor's heat discharge. It's a suicide mission. Still, he suits up, tethers himself, hugs Aurora tightly, knowing this might be goodbye. He tells her that it's the only way. He'll manually hold the lever that vents the core. But once the heat begins releasing, it'll pass right through him. It's almost certain death. As he heads out into the vacuum of space, Aurora screams at him not to go. She begs him to stop, but Jim is already floating outside, approaching the manual lever. He reaches it, grabs it, pulls hard. The vent door opens, and the heat begins to roar out into space, burning around him. Inside the ship, Aurora watches his vitals plummet. The temperature near him spikes. Suddenly, his grip slips. His boot slides off the platform. The safety tether snaps. He's flung into space, his suit damaged, spinning away from the ship. Desperate and panicked, Aurora throws on a suit of her own and launches after him. Her oxygen is limited. Time is running out. In the distance, she spots him, unconscious, floating farther and farther away. She accelerates toward him, navigating debris and solar flares. Finally, she reaches out, grabs his tether line, and pulls. With all her strength, she drags him back toward the airlock. Inside, she removes his helmet. His face is frozen, pale, unmoving. She rushes him to the autodock, a high-tech medical machine. She slams her palm against the controls, activating every emergency protocol. The machine scans Jim's body. No heartbeat, no brain activity. Tears stream down Aurora's face. She begs the machine to keep going. It administers electric pulses, injections, compression. Still nothing. Then suddenly a twitch, a flicker in his eyes, a breath, a heartbeat. He's alive. Aurora screams in relief and throws her arms around him. Jim opens his eyes, groggy but breathing. They made it. He's alive. Over the next few days, they repair all the remaining systems. The reactor is stabilized. The environmental systems are running again. The lights stay on. The gravity remains stable. The Avalon is back on course. As the chaos settles, Jim discovers something else. One of the hibernation pods in the med bay is still fully functional. Using it, one of them could return to sleep and survive the journey to Homestead 2. He tells Aurora to take it, but Aurora shakes her head. She knows that going back to sleep means waking up alone 90 years later on a new world. But it would also mean leaving Jim behind forever. She can't do that. She chooses to stay awake with him. They accept their fate. 2 people, 1 ship, 90 years together in deep space. But at least now they aren't alone. Time passes. They make the ship a home. They grow gardens, paint walls, leave behind a legacy. Then, the screen fades to black. 90 years later, the ship finally reaches Homestead 2. The hibernation systems begin to open. Passengers awaken one by one, stretching, yawning, expecting to arrive just as they had slept. But as they walk out into the main concourse of the ship, they're stunned. Plants grow from walls. Vines twist along railings. Birds flutter. The cold steel halls of the Avalon are now filled with nature, lush and alive. In the center of it all, a plaque. It reads, Jim and Aurora, the first. Their story left behind. Their love, sacrifice, and courage, the reason anyone survived at all. As the passengers stare in awe, we understand. This isn't just a spaceship anymore. It's a monument to 2 people who gave up everything, so that thousands could reach a new world. And with that, the movie ends.